How you been? It's been a little while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
We just had a good catch up.
We did.
One of the best. Reminds me why we wanted to start this.
Start this podcast in the first place. So we'll just jump straight into it. We were actually just talking about something pretty important just before we started. So talking about content in and content out. So like your input and your output.
Yep.
And what were you saying about that?
So noticing a few weeks ago that a lot of my own operations were, like I was telling you, very basic, at the time. How do I mean by that? The conversations I was having, I knew that they were talking about the same shit. Nothing overall bad, but just the same old stuff. And it would filter in and influence me and my actions. So I started realizing, okay, content in is very, very important to my output. And if I want my output to be a certain way, I need to start monitoring my input. But to come to that realization, I started spending more time alone. And then from there, getting my own little world right first. I found myself engaging with different topics that I would commonly engage in. Reading, once again, listening to great podcasts, listening to a lot of things regarding the rise and fall of ancient civilizations. And then slowly but surely, I realized my output, my content out, was at the place that I wanted it to be, which was mentally stimulating, informative, educational, enjoyable, entertaining. So yeah, it was reflected in my conversations that I had and whatnot. And I noticed that all started from taking a step back, and monitoring that content input.
Yeah, which you've always been pretty good at doing that, being able to objectively look at yourself, and that's a real hard one to do. Because even if we try and do that sometimes, I try and do it sometimes, and I look at myself like, no, I think I'm pretty good actually, and you start accepting certain things, and it's hard to be objective and honest with yourself, and to almost look at a third person. I'm not even me anymore. I'm someone else looking. Would I think that was okay? If I was watching someone else do it, and to almost disconnect yourself like that, which you've always been pretty good at doing actually.
Well, it's funny that once again, what I started engaging with? Player one theory for personal development.
Yeah.
Which is our player one mindset, player one framework, looking at myself from the outside as a character in a game. Okay. Yeah. What is this avatar doing that is what actions are stopping me from being my highest, truest self? It's easier to answer that question when it's external. But what else happens is you don't realize if you fall into a certain category that you're not happy about. It just is a slow cumulative effect sometimes. So maybe something I should implement moving forward is schedule in that time for that analysis. It doesn't have to be a weekly or a nightly thing. Maybe, once every 3 months, I'm going to just the 12 weeks, I'm going to just see where I'm at, observe my character again from the outside in, what he's doing, where he's at in all areas.
Yeah, true. And even what you're saying, just saying with the whole rise and fall of civilizations, I mean, you can ask anyone right now, we're at a pretty crazy and pivotal time with everything that's going on. And we were talking about this a year ago when it first sort of happened with these lockdowns, like, oh, it's all good, like it'll pass, just make the most of it. And now it's sort of like, okay, yes, still always going to make the most of it because we have to. But at the same time, are we at the end of the civilization, of the world that we knew it?
And this,
It's a serious question, you know what I mean? It's been over 2 years now. We're still living like this. There's not many signs that we're going back to what life was like beforehand. And now we've got this whole thing with the Metaverse coming out, and it's sort of like, I don't know, it's pretty fitting. Yeah. It's very, very fitting.
But well, this is a good point. It's a good time in the conversation to point out to anyone listening what's happening. So, like Josh mentioned, there's a bunch of change happening right now, and there's probably a lot of people who can feel that change happening in the tech world in terms of NFTs, crypto, Metaverse. You're hearing these terms, and I'm someone who's in a position where I'm hearing the terms, but I don't exactly know how to get involved, what the value is, why exactly people talking about it. I just know, and this is facts, I just know that there's an emerging space, what appears to be an emerging space, which is where there's going to be an important shift taking place, and that it's important. So we decided, it'll be a good time to run a podcast episode where we get informative and fill people in on these things. Me, from the genuine standpoint, this is where I'm at, is I am in the dark in this. So I'm going to be that person from that side of things that's going to ask all these questions to Josh today. And hopefully, he's going to answer, give us some gems, and we're going to come away from this with some understanding of what's going on and the advantageous position we're all in, how to capitalize. And you know what? Since I'm already rambling, I'm just going to give them the 3 points we're going to go over.
Yeah, but just quickly before you go into that, I would just obviously make it clear that although I'm spending the last year involved in this space as much as I can, I don't know everything, so don't expect to get all the answers. And the other part is that nobody knows everything because this is completely new. This never happened before. We've never had a metaverse, and this is completely new space. So it's constantly evolving. Things are constantly changing, but obviously I will try and do my best. If I do say things that you don't know what I mean, like any terminology, just pull me up and I'll explain it. Because I might get away with saying words. Just pull me out if I say anything that's confusing.
Done deal. I will. And I genuinely am in somewhat in the dark in this. I know there's a little bit of experience there, but I am. So anything that doesn't make sense, I'll clarify. So hopefully this is one of those episodes where a little bit of structure will help a little bit in some shape. So here we go. We'll keep it simple. So 3 main points in this Play One Masterclass. Now, number 1, our goal here is we're going to educate those who can tell there's an important shift taking place, yet still feel in the dark about what that shift is and why it's important. And of course, referring to future tech. Second, highlight the advantageous position we're all in and advise on how to capitalize in this space. And then lastly, which is where I'm real keen on, a bunch of air raids in this section, is important implications, interesting philosophical questions, and we'll touch base on some things regarding humanity's downfall, human nature, the rise and fall of civilizations, and what this new space means for humanity.
Yeah, so the moral, philosophical, ethical sort of concerns that can come into play with this as well.
Yes.
Okay. So what was that first part then?
All right, so regarding this first part, which is education, the question is, what are the main areas and industries that are emerging right now that's getting a lot of popularity? What are those areas?
Yeah, so first and foremost is absolutely they're all linked together, but blockchain, crypto, NFTs.
Okay.
Because it's sort of what everyone's hearing about at the moment, with coins pumping and NFTs, people flipping to make money. And it sort of started throughout this year, just sort of like a way to, was it a pump and dump, or was it just a little quick thing that was temporary, in and out, make some money? No, it's absolutely here to stay.
Okay.
And I know I've explained a little bit of this on a few episodes, but just quickly, NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They can be in any form, doesn't matter what it is. As long as you mint it, upload it online, make it digital, doesn't matter what it is. You can create digital art, I can take photos, I can release limited edition albums for music, I can make contracts that are NFTs. It's all an NFT is just to verify authenticity in its simplest form, doesn't matter what it is. So it's just a way to verify that your digital item is legit, you own it, and there can be a certain amount of copies. And this will be on a blockchain, so you can't fake it in any way.
Okay. So so the next question tied to that was, what are these areas and what are their functions? So area 1, you just mentioned NFTs, non-fungible token.
Yeah.
What exactly is that? Could you clarify?
It's basically just an authenticity paper.
Okay.
A digital authenticity paper. That's really all it is. And when you see, which we're going to see with the Metaverse, if anyone watched the full episode, the keynote that Mark Zuckerberg talked about, one of the key things that people are going to see is, and I'll talk about from the Metaverse perspective, is you're going to see, regardless Metaverse or in the physical world, we're just going to replace contracts with NFTs. It's just a digital contract.
Okay.
So for real estate, proving you own houses, art, whatever, it will be an NFT, digital contract. Really.
That really actually does.
Which makes sense.
Make a lot of sense. So what about those things? Okay, so let's say the Bored Ape.
Yeah.
That is a digital contract displaying that I own this little piece of digital artwork in this new world.
Yeah, so, and this is going to be the thing, right? So Gary Vee talks about this a lot, and people say, like, what is it? Is it just a flex? yeah, it's a flex. And you might think that's a joke, but what is a Rolex? What is the brand Supreme? What is the brand Louis V? It's a flex. It's someone, I can buy this shirt, or I can buy this shirt that says Louis V, and the difference is the brand and the price. It's the same thing, it's just a shirt. Same thing with all this. So when we think about the metaverse, and this is where it's going to really pop off, NFTs have only just started. You might have been hearing about it for the last 2 years. It's a baby right now, because what will happen in the metaverse is you're going to be able to have your own worlds, houses, and rooms. So in every aspect, you name it, right? So there's one part, it's going to be called Horizon Home.
So just quickly then, so metaverse function, and what is it?
The metaverse.
So if you say metaverse, what is the metaverse and what is its function?
Okay, so the metaverse is a collective term. So when someone says metaverse, they're talking about the mix between virtual reality, augmented reality, and collectively mixed reality. So you're talking about 3 different things when you say metaverse. The one that people are most thinking about is probably the virtual reality aspect of it, which is what's happening with Mark Zuckerberg's presentation with their platform called Horizon. That's all virtual reality. He's also talking about bringing out augmented glasses, which is the augmented reality.
Okay, so can you go over that once again? Sorry. AR is augmented reality, which is, let's say you have a lens over your eye, or a set of glasses, or an Oculus Rift.
No, that's different.
That's different.
Yeah,
okay,
so that's 2 different things. So the Oculus Rift will be for virtual reality. That's going to be the headset that I put on, and I'm going to block out my physical world. It's all virtual. What I'm saying. Augmented is I'm still going to be here with you in the same room, and I'm just going to put these glasses on. I can still see everything that's going on, but I will have a heads-up display where I'm seeing things that are augmented, holographic, that I wouldn't see if I took the glasses off, and you wouldn't see it.
Okay.
But if you put your glasses on and we're in the same party, we'll both see the same hologram.
Yeah. So this is okay. So augmented reality is like the filter over this current real reality.
Yeah.
And it would be where you can have other digital projections and whatnot. Just like wearing, let's say, a set of glasses that are clear and see-through, but they might have other things there as well.
Yeah, but that only the wearer or anyone in the party of the wearer can see.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting because
very interesting.
So I was thinking, like, imagine someone got out of prison and didn't know about this, and you looked around, people wearing these glasses, and they're playing tennis in midair, or they're boxing someone midair, and you'd be like, is this guy crazy? But if you didn't have the glasses, you wouldn't know what he's seeing. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to be able to see what they're seeing. So you might literally walk down the street and see people sitting down, having a full-blown conversation, interacting, touching,
hand gestures,
everything, the whole thing. And you're like, is this guy crazy? Even crazier, you could be on a basketball court by yourself, full on playing a basketball game, and nothing's there.
Damn.
But if you had the glasses on, you would see literally people from across the world on the court with you and a virtual ball. Not only that, but the haptics, which is like touch sensors from any like vibrations and all that, would be so realistic that you would genuinely feel like you're holding a ball. You would genuinely feel contact on your arm, bumping a person.
Damn.
The whole thing. Damn. And you really, if my dog was to sit there and watch me, he'd be like, this guy's crazy, he's by himself.
Okay, so that's AR, and VR is more immersion. So there's none of this real reality that I'm seeing. It's just a complete pixelated digital immersion. Yeah, and that can take place with like the Oculus Rift, which shuts out all the other visual sensors, and it's just seeing
whatever. It's all virtual, so the whole thing is simulated. Nothing about that is real. But obviously, at the same time, they're already starting to bring out like different headgear that you can put on with the goggles. Like it's for the they're bringing like this whole physical PT health and fitness sort of thing with it. Like add-ons.
I saw Oculus post a video of people like doing different workouts and whatnot. Essentially like the Wii
like
Fit, except with the set of glasses.
But it'll get bigger and better, and there's a lot of companies in this space. It's not just what Facebook's doing, but a lot of partnerships happening.
Okay, so now with that understanding of AR, VR, then what is the Metaverse?
So the Metaverse is the collective term of all of them. And that sounds weird to say, but it sounds like they're separate, but it's actually going to merge, and you're going to swap between them all the time. Like it'll be, the idea is to phase out phones. The idea is to completely get rid of phones you should be able to do absolutely everything with just your glasses.
Damn.
So the same thing, like answering call, you can already do this with Ray-Ban and Snapchat.
And the Google Lens at one point.
Google Lenses, yeah. So we've already got this, but it's a little bit, it's not quite there, but you can pretty much do everything. And it would just be like, there's a good presentation that Google did, or Microsoft, one of them, and they explained the way that they can flick through using their hand gestures and the haptics and that, and you don't need the phone. Like the idea is to get rid of it, and it's pretty close. And how close? We're literally 5 years away from total immersion. That close.
Okay, I'm not to get carried off track too much, but when you say total immersion, you're talking of, let's say, this is widely adopted. It's no longer a niche thing. You'd be hard pressed to find people who haven't had some type of experience with it.
You'd be hard pressed to find someone using their phone anymore.
Damn.
5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Crazy.
Yeah, I know. And don't get me wrong, there will be people that choose not to opt in. There will be people that choose for whatever reason. They're old, they can't be bothered learning a new thing, they don't want any part of it. But I'm telling you, they're absolutely the minority. People will be encouraged, for one, because it's going to be a lot of fun. The first movement of why we're going to join is going to be gaming. The gaming is the most entertaining part, and it's the biggest industry right now. Like, it's bigger than entertainment, it's bigger than half the things we have going. And money flows into gaming.
Let's make a point there, because I think when we say gaming, sometimes you can think quickly of just people playing games, and that's all it is, which in one sense it is, but gaming is a whole industry where there's money being made. Livelihoods are attached to this. This is a whole entire industry. So for this to be completely digital and like immersive is massive.
Yeah, and it has to work. And the other thing is that it'll be interoperable, meaning that you can use other companies' products. Sort of what we do right now with the internet. The internet is virtual reality, right? No one owns the internet. No one owns the metaverse or virtual reality, because I can use, an Apple phone, or I can use a Samsung, Huawei, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but I can get on the same apps. Sort of like the same thing. I can use whoever's products, I can mix and match, and I'm going to get on there one way or another. And everyone's going to have a say. Not only the companies will have a say, that I can build my own worlds, I can build my own apps, because this is where it ties into a blockchain. It's all decentralized, meaning no one owns it, and I have control as well.
Okay, so that's a good overview of Metaverse, VR, AR, and just a quick one on crypto and blockchain.
Yeah, so
quick definition and function.
Okay, so different cryptos have different functions, and you can think of them like different companies. Just quickly off the top of my head, like you can think of Bitcoin, what people think of. It's pretty much the best and proven track record for the last 10 years. It's the best store of wealth. And yes, you can say there's a lot of volatility, that sometimes it drops 30%, sometimes it goes up 20%, but if we're talking long term, year after year, it is the best performing asset in the last decade. Forget gold. Gold hasn't moved. If you measured it 10 years ago from where it is right now, it's the same spot. So we use Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation and a store of wealth. Ethereum is the second biggest by market cap. We use that at the moment to mainly buy NFTs with. It's the most widely accepted currency to buy and sell NFTs. And you have to pay a lot of fees to do it. The blockchain works for that. We're starting to see problems at the moment that's becoming very expensive to do. Like the floor price of most NFTs for the Bored Apes is like something ridiculous, like almost like 500 grand. Floor price meaning the cheapest one you can get. So the floor price is like your basic entry. And who's going to afford 500 grand? It's becoming out of reach now. Not only that, but the transaction fees, or the gas fees you call it, because it has to match the percentage price of Ethereum. As that goes up, it gets more expensive. So now you're seeing other currencies get involved in that space that are going to be cheaper to do. So as everyone get involved. Then you have things like XRP, which is the banker's coin. That's basically the coin that will be designed to be the exchange between global money. So anything. So if I was to buy or send money overseas, like you would know, you've been stuck in Thailand trying to get money into Thailand.
Yeah.
And how did you do it?
Western Union transfers.
And how long did it take?
It's not an instant thing.
And how much did it cost to do the transfer?
And there are transaction fees.
Yeah.
Everything's added on, and at the end of the day, It stacks up.
And that was only with a small amount of money for an individual person. If you think about that with a company, we're talking a couple of weeks, massive percentages. It's got to go through this intermediary, accept your bank. It's got to be on a weekday because the banks are closed on weekends. XRP is designed to be 4 decimal points past the zero as a transaction fee and instant. So if you think about swapping money around the world, it's going to be insane, like the amount of money that's being swapped at a cheap price, the way it should be. So no one's getting burnt doing this.
Yeah.
Then you've got a million other coins for a million different things. Some
do nothing at all.
Some are absolute shit coins. Some are meme coins. All they are is a pump and dump, make some money, get out.
Yeah.
Cool. And they won't last. But the ones that will is unbelievable, man. Because it has to run on, not only are they a currency, but you've got to think about they're running on their own blockchain, which is like their own ecosystem that's focused on a certain thing. So you've got these gaming coins that come currency for this ecosystem, but they run on their blockchain. So it's like a centralized, and I say centralized, decentralized, it's like half. Like it's its own ecosystem. Decentralized meaning no one owns it. We all own it collaboratively, because I own some coins, you own some coins, we're swapping them.
So, okay, as an example of that could be a little bit confusing to people. It's like the idea of finance with and decentralization of it, in terms of no one is sitting and setting the price or setting the value.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. And obviously, if you've got enough money, you can own quite a large sum of it, but you have to think about with some of these, the way that some of these coins are designed, they have different burn rates, and it's called a circulating supply and total supply, which means that if we think about Ethereum, they've just got this new update where they burn a certain amount of currency, which is a perfect hedge against inflation, because it's an ever increasingly finite amount. It's getting smaller. The supply is decreasing. Demand is increasing, price goes up. Hedges against the dollar, that's what we like. Also gets pretty expensive. And if you think that someone keeps accumulating and buying it, and if they own 50% of the market, and they could dump and crash at any time. It's not the case, because they actually lose supply as well. Like they're constantly getting their own coin burned. So that shouldn't be a problem.
It's not because it's decentralized, because
it's decentralized.
It's owned by everyone.
Yeah, everyone owns it. And we all, not only do we all own it, we can all earn it, because someone has to mine the coin to create the existence of it. And this is pretty interesting. At the moment, when you talk about like Bitcoin miners, you would see that people buying shipping containers, filling with computers that run automatic programs that solve code. And it's basically like just a whole big bunch of numbers. Every time someone makes a transaction, it gives you a code, and your program is supposed to crack the code and authenticate, whatever it is, the transaction. You're saying yes to it by cracking this little code. And that's happening all the time. And not only this is happening at the moment, right? So not only do you have these codes that are automatically happening, what they're now doing is they're creating in the gaming space a thing called play to earn. And you can crack that same code that authenticates transactions while you're playing a game. So like think about, I'm playing GTA, every time I beat a mission or whatever it is, I'm constantly cracking the codes that allowing transactions to happen, and I'm building that ecosystem, making it healthy, and all I'm doing is playing a game. At the same time, because I'm doing that, I'm technically working, I'm earning money in that coin, which you can swap it for whatever you want, or you can just hold that coin. So you're going to see a massive boom where, this is what I'm saying, like there's some crazy opportunity where you can literally play games for a living, for an insane, and because remember that the supply is decreasing because of the burn rate, that means that I can keep earning these coins and holding them, and if I just hold them and leave them,
the value is going
up. The value just keeps going up every year. It's better than the dollar. The dollar, I'm telling you, man, like the dollar will go to zero. It has to. You think that you're going to use your American dollars or Australian dollars in a fake world? No, you're going to use fake money. But we're going to be spending so much time in a fake world, the metaverse, that will be real money, and it will be a real world.
Damn, so that's a very interesting space. It looks like
Yeah,
it's all interconnected and it all ties
Yes,
in. And
yeah.
the existence of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency and NFTs is contributing to things like Facebook jumping into the metaverse, or things like the metaverse being even existing.
It's so big that Facebook, being one of the most powerful companies in the world right now, changed their whole business structure to focus on the metaverse. You can't tell me that's not the biggest thing ever. Like, it's here to stay.
Well, again, you look at the bigger fish in the ocean and what their moves are, and that usually indicates where things are running to, where things are turning to. So Facebook, what Josh referred to, people haven't seen or heard, Facebook changed literally the name of its company to Metaverse, and they clearly, if you go onto their Instagram, you realize it's not a new thing. They've had their socials, it's been in development for quite some time, but the name change is massive.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Anything else to say on those things, which is the main area and what their functions are?
Yeah, just quick with NFTs as well. Like I was saying, it's going to be a flex. You can develop your own worlds and your own home, because you've got to think about it like this, and they say this in the keynotes, that we are in a remote living space right now. No one's traveling in and out anywhere, and they believe that's here to stay, and I think it is too. And if you think about it, if you want to come and visit your friends or have family over, you can do that in the metaverse virtually, and it's going to be so realistic that I can have everyone over my house that I've created, and I can display my NFTs that I've been collecting. Because at the moment, it's pretty hard to display them. But let's say that I've been collecting these Bored Ape and I've got them in frames. If you come into my house virtually, you're going to see them on the walls, and you'll only see them if I actually own them. It wouldn't be allowed with NFTs. Like, that's the way that it works. So you better show it off like that. And that is real. Like, you buy a new house, you want to show it off. You want to come invite me over, you're going to give me a tour. Same thing, you buy a new car, you're going to do the same thing.
It's almost like this conundrum. This probably sparks some thoughts. Like, to some would agree that it's more important to look good online than it is to look good in reality. And that's where social media has led us, and that's a problem, a psychological problem that's massive with the younger generation, the kids growing up. But just that same thought highlights this whole thing with NFTs. You think that people are going to care more about the vintage artwork that they've got in their lounge room at home, or their NFT, which is the hot topic, the value of the current day that they can display in their virtual world? It's like, where is the majority of attention going to go? As much as we're trying to stay on topic, it's going to get like this. But
yeah, well, we can touch on that, the philosophical thoughts in a sec. But does that sort of answer most questions about the metaverse, crypto, NFTs? Is there anything you don't understand?
No, it does. So from my perspective now, based on what you said, the metaverse is a reference to a collective digital reality, which is going to be virtual, which is also complete immersion, but also will have elements of augmented reality, which is our base reality, our real reality, with a lens over the top of it, or a filter over the top of it. Very similar to having a Pokemon Go is a perfect example. That game, except instead of having your phone camera, it would have that. And Metaverse is a reference to that collection, that collective. But it's also a reference, it's also a name that Facebook has adopted for its new, changed its name to, which is a massive indication of how important they see that term alone, which signifies a lot. And then NFTs tied into this space, into this virtual space. So you could say NFTs are the virtual Rolex. And then you've got, it's a digital contract signifying ownership. And then you've got your cryptocurrencies, which have very different functions and operate on different blockchains.
And ecosystems, because remember, there's going to be every industry you can think of will be involved in this some way. And they're going to have their own digital wallets. And if anyone's watched Westworld, what I'm saying is that banks will be obsolete. You will have your own bank. Everyone's going to have digital wallets with Epic Games and your gaming. You're going to have digital banks with your shopping, your warehousing, your business. Everyone's going to be having their own money, and it's going to be swapping around all the time. And this whole world is completely different, and nothing is impossible. No banks, no centralized money. It's all individualized.
That starts an answer to the next question, to that part one, which is, what makes this important to any human alive today?
Okay.
Which
What
is
makes it important? There's endless opportunities for one, and there's going to be new opportunities that have never been happened before and never been allowed before. Because you're going to, like I said, for one, that you can sit in your bedroom, play games, and be mining coins, and you wouldn't even realize that you're doing that, but you can literally earn a living doing that for alone.
It's like, yeah. So
people are already doing that. They're already spending that whole time playing games. Why not make a living doing it?
Yeah. To my answer to this question, I have an answer also, which I wrote down here. What makes this important to any human alive today? It's like, one, it's not so long term. It's not. I know that we tend to not care about things that aren't currently right in front of us. It doesn't seem like it's a problem or benefit right now. It's not worth considering. But this is not so far off. This is not a long-term idea that is coming to fruition in a few 100,000 generations. No. In the next 5 years, like you said, potentially longer, potentially less, this is a reality that we have to consider. So that's why it's important, number one. Number two, our whole way of life will shift, especially if this, and it will, ends up with complete adoption. You know, everything, like you mentioned, income, entertainment, learning, pleasure, all of these things will shift to this metaverse. And one example for those who are right now thinking of Black Mirror, let's just think to one of the episodes where there's all sorts of wild shit going on in this virtual reality, you know, and then in the real world, somebody could just be a regular Joe, but in the virtual reality, you know, they're free to do whatever. So all their entertainment and whatnot that they want here, they have it, you would have in real life, that can take place in the metaverse. Work opportunities even, let's say if you wanted to, let's give it a complete new example. Let's say it's a business thing and you want to meet with someone to discuss it, but you can't meet someone face to face. So you decide to meet in the metaverse at such and such a place where you can show off your NFT on your wall, you know, and you can sit and you can chat. And if there was a meeting place there, maybe there was some sort of fee or anything at all. So it's a massive shift. And then the next point is there's an opportunity to adopt early. And that's why this whole space and this emerging space is made so much more important, because there's an opportunity to adopt early. And that opportunity, Josh can tell us more about.
Yeah, so I know most people's thought is probably financially, like the best way to become an investor and how can I earn money before this happens.
Mm-hmm.
For one, I'm saying that that's almost the least important part of what's going to happen. Yes, you can, absolutely. You can look at the projects that are involved. You can look at the companies involved with traditional stocks. You can look at the cryptocurrencies that will be using their blockchains and go and hold them. I would suggest putting them on a hard wallet or a ledger, so like a little USB. Keep them on there, don't put them on the exchange. So you can own the stocks, you can own the crypto, you can start owning some prime NFTs, because you got to think, like, we just started this whole NFT craze. Everything that's being created now is the first time. So they're all the OG projects.
Yeah.
Even you got massive companies like Nike, Balenciaga, NBA, everyone's getting involved somewhere. And I think that if you start owning these small ones, the cheaper ones, just hold them, because these will be relics in the future.
Yeah.
You'll be able to put them on your wall and get the limited edition ones. There's only one of one. They're going to be with merch and everything.
I'll jump in here, bro. Early adoption equals value, and you just highlighted, you know, one reason how that's going to be a case with what's happening right now. Look at anything that's being traded, Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, any of the first elite version. There's something about history about being first, which gives value to that thing, to that product.
Yeah.
And the same thing will happen here. So that's one way that, so the value here, early adoption, because it is brand new. NFT is a new space. So early adoption, if you can think a little long term and have some faith in this space, which it would be hard not to in its existence. I think there are a lot of people right now who are purchasing these products right now, and they'll be able to purchase them for many more, sell them for many more times what they're worth later on.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that there's early adoption. Another thing is, look at another point about early adoption, which is our opportunity here, is look at General Motors. Let's look at Coca-Cola. Let's look at Google, eBay, Facebook, any stock, any company that's out there very, very early. Of course, if you had, they say hindsight is 20/20. If you could see into the future, you'd say, damn, I would have loved to get in when these were cheap or when these were at this price early on. But that same opportunity exists right now. Of course, there's work attached to that, knowing which one is the correct one. It's just going to come down to what it always comes down to, a little bit of work, a little bit of effort. But the opportunity part, you don't have to look for. That's there.
Yeah. And the conviction into what you're holding. And the same thing, you can't polish a turd. So I can forget about Shiba, Doge, forget about them. They are shit. And because we said there's opportunity, there's a lot of flawed opportunity. Mm-hmm. I can create my own cryptocurrency tomorrow. It's not expensive to do. I can limit it. I can start marketing it, give it to this influencer, pump my shitcoin. I'll give you 20% of the total supply. You can dump it whenever you want, but me and you have got an agreement that this sort of shit happens, and people know that. So you've got to be careful with that. Honestly, just look at
human nature will find its way in, which we'll get to, but human nature will find its way.
Yeah. So just be real careful with that. Obviously, don't wreck yourself there. And the other bigger parts where I'm saying that you can, big opportunities here is for content creation. You're going to see influencers have their own private drops where you can come into their world, pay a small fee, whatever it is, and you get early access. You can see them in the Metaverse. It's all digital. You can put, and the crazy thing is there's no capacity. For one, I don't have to hire a space. It's all digital. You can come and I'll set my price for tickets at the door. I don't have to pay a ticket company, security, nothing. So I'm getting all the profit. And you don't have to you can't, it's not like a venue where I can only fit 300 people. I can fit 3 million. Mm-hmm. There is no limit to how many people I can fit here. It's all digital. Yeah. So there's gonna be massive opportunities there for brands to get involved. They're gonna make interactive products and interactive experiences where, you can do whatever. Tesla's gonna bring out a thing where you can fly rockets virtually and you'll love it. All this crazy shit that you couldn't think was possible. And that's
what about learning?
Yeah, this is a massive one.
That's a massive one.
Because kids are going to grow up here. Why would you go to school anymore? Why would you spend, do your whole recess thing? And it's a joke now, you can, not only that, but in the keynote that Facebook showed, there's this one scene where this girl and her grandma are sitting on the porch, they're looking at the stars, both put the glasses on, and right in front of them, they can flick through and scroll each planet. Zoom into it and you've got it right in your face. You can interact with, the rings around Saturn.
Rotate it
and learn about everything.
Different points. Of course.
Same with insects. You can touch them and hold them and everything. You'll be able to learn at a crazy, interactive, immersive pace where it's not just that I'm holding it and I'm reading it or I'm watching it. I'm literally right there. I can feel it. I can hear the sounds. And the other thing is that not only can you go to anything or any place, you can go to any time. We can go back and recreate history. You can go walk around what it was like back in the day, see how buildings were built. You can listen to the accents, the way they talk. And
this is, look,
you know what I mean?
What this I hope is doing is highlighting the possibilities that exist within this virtual reality, which we should start to realize because of its nature of being virtual, the possibilities really are endless, but they're gonna start with those main points of society, such as education, such as earning an income, such as entertainment, pleasure, such as all those things will be there at the core, I guess, that will draw people into this. But then long term, you can run amok with this. This is pliable. This is Play-Doh in the hands of the creators here, that in this world and this universe, and it carries some scary implications too, which I clearly can't wait to get to. But that's us at number 2. So first we've done, what are these actual areas and what are their functions? And then what we've done now is we've highlighted why this is important to anyone right now, and we did that hopefully through what we just said. Now let's get into the part most people would want to hear about, about how many people will be asking. And I've been guilty of this, saying, hey brother, what's the, where do I invest? What should I buy? Now, I'm not going to answer that question in such a sense, but I want to ask, how can we get value from our position and that position being at the start of a new shift in a different direction. What are the ways we can get value from this position? I've got my 3 points too. And after that, we can go for 3 clear actions, people can take to get started in this space, to get more involved in this space, to not get left behind in this space.
Yeah, so what I said earlier is to invest in the stocks and crypto and hold them long term. If you could go back and hold the stocks like that owns the internet or completely going to dominate the internet, we've all seen it. If you've invested $1,000 into Amazon or whatever back in '99, you'd be.
Well, that's told me a million times.
Yeah, we all heard, and this is the next opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can do the same thing with cryptos if you can. And don't get me wrong, it's not that easy. Like there's so many that don't even exist yet that will be the bigger ones, and be carefully with what you choose. But I'm saying that over time, all these blue chip cryptos have all held their value in the long term, better than anything else has ever.
BTC, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and
Ripple, XRP, Cardano, Solana, literally any like the top 15 is a safe bet. And look, obviously not investment advice. I'm not saying anything's guaranteed here. I'm just saying from what we've seen over the last few years, it has proven to be true. The other thing I want to warn is that people who have obviously caught onto this 4-year cycle, I would bet against that after this. I don't think that this 4-year cycle is going to happen again.
Okay.
People have seen like in 2012 and 2014, 2017, 2021, this whole 4-year, how we dip for 3 years, comes up to the bull run, comes down, and we blast off at the end of the year, and then it's all done. I'm saying that when this becomes, because we never use it, you know what I mean? We just sort of pumped it every 4 years by accident. This is going to be used. We're actually going to be using these coins, not just pumping them and forgetting them, putting them to dollars. And it's going to be used within the next 5 years. We're all going to be using it. So I don't think we're going to have another 3-year bear market after this. I honestly think that, sure, we might have a little crash, but I think that it's going to recover a lot quicker than people realize, and it's going to go way higher than anyone can imagine.
Okay. And
I'll be very, very careful about either one, buying it and hoping it's going to go nuts, and 2, selling it too early. But there's a fine line between both of them there. And
okay. So
be careful. Yeah.
Good. I like that. So the question again: how can we get value from that position? And you say these blue chip, these blue chip top 15s. Cryptos are safe bets. So that answers that question off the bat. And you'd also recommend people getting a wallet and holding these in some sort of physical form too.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I don't know why people don't know this, but if you keep your coins on an exchange, it's sort of like keeping them in a bank. The bank actually doesn't have to give them to you. For one, it doesn't even exist. They've straight away spent your money, right? The same thing happens in the exchange. It's actually what you really bought was an IOU saying that, there's supposed to be an agreement that whenever I want, I can withdraw it and you will let me have it. They don't have to abide by that for whatever reason. And you can look at Tether, for example, of what's going on there. It's a complete scam. But you have to know that you don't actually own them when they're on the exchange. The exchange owns them. You actually bought them the rights to buy them.
Yeah.
That's not a guarantee. And I know that sounds illegal, whatever, but we have no regulation.
And you can clearly see that again when you go down to that example, like when I'm stuck in Thailand. And it's like, hey, this money is owed to me. It's mine, or it's someone else's, and they want to, or I would want to access. It's like, no, there's a waiting time here. What do you mean there's a waiting time? This is mine, isn't it? Yeah. It's like if I was to store money under the bed. When I want it, I reach under the bed and get it. What's the difference here? That's just a little example.
And I've talked about this before. Like, if I created a trust fund and I want to transfer money from my bank to another one, even if you want to withdraw a certain amount of cash at the bank, they'll be like, why? What are you spending it on? We actually need to get the branch manager and see if you're allowed to. It's like, hang on a second, it's my money. People already have these same problems with banks, and you just don't click with it.
This is exactly. That's why I can't wait to get to number 3. But it's like this is the. Look, so too much.
The thing is, but like you put it on it's an encrypted wallet on a USB, right? And you get, with most of them that you buy, you have a password. It's a random 23, 24 numbers. You write them down on paper. You never take a screenshot of them. You never ever leave them digitally. You write down on paper, and when you plug it in, you got to
memorize it.
Try your best. You can. And you just put it away. I've kept mine to say I don't touch it, and I only put the coins on that I truly believe, genuinely believe that is like my retirement fund.
Yeah.
I will never sell it. I put them on there and I lock them away.
Is that because
So-
you don't trust the store? So does that mean that you're saying that wherever the crypto is being stored is the same fallacy as banks? So it has the same negatives as banks?
Yeah, almost worse than a
Yeah.
bank because they're not regulated.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're still going through lawsuits with the SEC,
Mhm.
like the Security
Yeah,
Exchange Commission. Like, it's unbelievable. So be very careful about that. And what I'm saying is that once we go through this and we're all using on the Metaverse, which I believe is going to be the biggest use case for crypto, I'm saying that there won't be any banks. You're either going to be going through different companies' private wallets, which is their own ledgers, right? Or you're going from your own and you're just swapping currencies all the time. You think there's going to be a bank that you're going to trust, or an exchange that you're going to trust your money? No way. Everyone will have their own ledgers.
And the idea of ledger, just to go back, because I think a lot of people will be confused on the blockchain part in part one, which there are plenty of videos out there you can go and get quick breakdowns of. But the ledger idea is like essentially that's what the blockchain is. It's a ledger of every single transaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go to now. So just to finish that one, so 3 clear actions. You said one, there's the blue chip stocks, which would be the top 15 in crypto. Then you've got your physical wallet, which is another good idea. What would be a third thing, a third clear action someone can take to get started?
Is absolutely, and they always say like in your self-investment, your knowledge pays the highest dividends. You have to know this stuff.
Yeah.
Like whether you like it or not, I would absolutely recommend you look into what DeFi is, decentralized finance, because this is absolutely the foundation of this metaverse.
Mhm.
It's all going to be decentralized, meaning no one owns it all. You have to know that stuff. You have to know how to stake your cryptos. And this is another absolutely unbelievable opportunity you have, that when you earn certain coins, the way that has to work with any currency I'm talking, you have to have liquidity, meaning that there has to be a big pool of whatever the asset is, money, and there has to be a way that there's enough volume coming in where you can easily exit and enter at any time. What some of these cryptocurrencies need is they have a liquidity pool, which means that I own this money, but I'm going to lend it to you, whoever the exchange is or whatever, and you earn interest off it. You don't earn 2-3% from like a bank. You can earn up to like 100% APY or APR, they call it, whatever it is, it's like appreciation yield or whatever per year. And so let's say that you cashed out whatever, you stake it against whatever this asset is to provide liquidity for anyone trading it, and you're earning interest forever off of it.
Okay.
And
when
they
you
need that.
Yeah, when you say you're providing liquidity, you're just providing the ability for people to get their value straight away.
Yeah, so I'm going to lend you, because I've bought a shitload of this coin, I'm going to lend the market, the entire market, and everybody does this, because that's how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lend the market this amount of money, but when I want, because I own it and it's still on my ledger,
Take it back with
I can
interest.
take it back. And it's not that you can take it back instantly, because that stops liquidity. I put in a form that I can take it, and then after 5-10 days it comes back with your interest.
Now, I wrote down 3 points in answer to this question on how to get value from our current position. You covered a lot of them. One is investing in those areas. So there are many ways to invest in these areas directly by getting crypto. That's a quick, clear way. 2 is you could invest in just like in this real world, the companies that are involved in this space. That would be good if you're someone with a future-focused approach to building your portfolio. Then you would want to focus on companies involved in this space, and you can do that through your own research and see. For example, something was chatted about a little while ago. Let's say electric cars are the future. You'd want to go look into companies that are providing batteries or materials for it.
So the entire supply chain, A to B, how that product or service will be made.
So investing in those areas and the interconnected areas to those areas. Now, working in those areas. This one is a trickier one, but it shouldn't be, because it involves a complete shift. To work in a new field like this, what does that even mean? Does that mean I'm not going to work what I'm currently doing? That's on you. That would just be my advice. It would require a leap of faith, but that is the whole idea behind the player one mindset. That is, go out there, take those opportunities. If not, make them. Find out and take those risks that are gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna feel a bit weird. Shit, I'm gonna jump in and give this thing a crack. Try and get involved in a space where I may not know anything about right now. Yeah, that's how it works.
But the best thing is that no one knows about this. You know what I mean? Like, no one's done this yet. So
that's the value of our position.
We're all at the same starting box here.
Early adopter. And then
like, you don't have to, some people might think that, well, I'm not a software engineer, I don't have a degree in this. It's not going to matter, because that whole schooling method is done. Like, if I was recruiting someone, I don't care if you have a degree in this, or if you're just a kid that was taught yourself on YouTube and you learn how to make apps. Whoever does the job better is all I care about. You know what I mean? And the same thing. Like,
and sometimes people never have to even know who's behind the value.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know if it's a kid running everything here, or someone that's a software engineer.
Yeah.
You're not worried, you're not paying attention to that.
And you almost want to trust these kids, because they're going to be brought up in this.
Yeah.
And they'll know it better than we do. Like, they'll be better than us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No denying that. It's just like, I think we will be in that position. Maybe, we will be in that position, or the old generations older than us will be in the position of us going to parents and having to show them what to do on their phone. Yeah, that'll be the same scenario here in the metaverse. Now, the point 2 there with working, I just want to invoke thought. That's all I want to do. Get people to think, hey, how can or share the idea that when there's a new interesting field, it's okay to try and push yourself to go there and think about it. The last point there is, like you said, stay informed, involved in the area, knowledge, upskill, level up. Content in, like I mentioned at the very start, very, very important to your own output. So if you at some point want that opportunity, or at some point want to have that ability to execute on that opportunity, start now. To start getting informed, getting that content into your mind, so it can sit there in your subconscious, or you can consciously ponder it. And it could happen over a day, a night, or a month, or a decade. That information can and will be useful to you at some point. It's a cumulative effect. When the opportunity is there, bang, all that information you may not even think is what's helping you, but it is what's helping you. It's allowing you to move in the same way you move.
And I said that in the AI episode, that same thing, the way these algorithms work, they only want to show you more of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to learn more about the metaverse, I would start following, accounts that talk about it, YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and start watching more, liking them. I'm going to get more of that. And if I keep surrounding myself in that network, I'm going to become like that.
Play the game.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know that you're in the game, and that there are rules in the game, and whatever I'm paying attention to digitally, you see the pixels going to throw it back in your face constantly, and things similar. Get involved in the right areas that are going to give you the right content all the time, or at least some sort of a heads up.
Sure.
Now, the final part, interesting part. So we've covered a lot of the practical stuff, and we want to go into now some important implications. So important implications, interesting philosophical questions, humanity's downfall, player one theory. And here could be a whole episode on its own, but keep it short. The first important implication I want to point out is the blurred line between what is and isn't real. That's a very important implication. And if you think about, for example, let's say from a legal standpoint and an ethical standpoint, okay, it's harmful to punch someone in the face for no reason, right? Now, and there's going to be legal implications, and then people point out ethical implications too. Now, let's say you're in the metaverse. What's governing that area? What's real? What's not real? If something's not real, is it okay for me to do whatever I want in this field? To another avatar, to items being held by that person. Like, these are considerations and implications that we haven't had to consider because we only have this reality here. But the introduction of a whole nother reality by people existing in this reality, what's governing this space? What rules and regulations govern that space? Next one is psychological implications. Look at the effect of technology, mobile phones in particular, and social media on you and I ourselves, right? On what it's done to our attention span, wiring the brain for quick reactivity, for short, fleeting interactions. And that's just from one small piece of technology that isn't fully integrated into who we are. Now, think about the younger generation and noticing their attachment to technology. Now, what about with this world, with this virtual world, metaverse, and currencies and entertainment and whatnot? It's going to really impact a generation and all following generations psychologically in a way we can predict and point out some negatives to, but not all.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's like it's already been happening it's happened to us. It's happened to our parents and their parents before. Like, they went through wars, we didn't, and we're a bit softer and a bit more frail and a bit more sensitive. And then the next one's the same, and we're becoming less competent, less sure of ourselves. We don't know what's right and wrong. You know, we have to be told what's right and wrong because people can't make up their own mind. Like, you're getting flooded with new information all the time, new experiences, and you'd be so confused. People just think like, yeah, that's possible, yeah, and think that everything's possible. But you say some things to some people and you think, do you even realize what you're saying right now? You're just so used to having everything like that.
Comfort and ease is where the human mind actually flocks to, you know, the pleasure principle, running away from pain and moving towards pleasure. It makes sense, but you can see how it's a survival principle and how when things are currently okay, the existence of that is going to have implications. And one more point on the psychological thing, I thought this might highlight it. People say kids get desensitized to violence in games, you know, and then they have some school shooters, you know, and shit like that and whatnot. Think about people growing up, spending more time in this world, in this reality, or in this virtual reality than in the current reality. And the rules and regulations of that reality, however they turn out, people are going to operate in that world differently. However, what they'll take from that virtual world into this real world is the same mind. And a world and a mind growing up in that virtual world, which could be messed up and I could even be thinking too dark here, just small subtle changes and shifts are going to come out into this real world. And if I guess people still have value here, because we'll get to that one next, it's going to impact your normal human interactions here. And what I mean by value here, if things get so valuable online on this virtual reality, and we're so dependent on it for income and work, and let's say education, let's say in a decade from now we realize, hey, it's better to send kids to school on their virtual reality 4 days a week, you know? It's easier. Better opportunities for learning, all types of learning, spatial, visual, whatever, we can do it all here in this world, cool. Eventually, if we're at a stage where everything or majority of things are happening there, you'd have more value in how you are and how you appear and how you exist in that world than you do here, simply based on the amount of time you spend there versus the amount of time you spend here. So how you appear in this world, maybe your physical health, your mental health, your human interactions, maybe you won't care as much about this here. And this now will just become a feeding place where you feed and sustain your human body so you can exist in this virtual world where you have new friends, you have new people, like Mark said, you know, you can meet anyone, you know, have same interests. You want to join a Facebook group, same interests, same thing here. You're going to join that group and you're going to have those interests. You're going to have new friends there. And this is why your NFTs will be more valuable, because people aren't going to care about what you have on the wall here. In reality, they're spending all their time there. They care about what's happening there. And another implication from that one, let's say there are things in this world that are horrible, right? That everyone at this current stage, who knows where opinions are going, would agree are horrible, such as, let's say, pedophilia, right? But we can't argue and dismiss the idea or existence of these people and these psychological problems and mindsets. Now, if they're not harming anyone, can they go into this virtual world and create a little pedophile group? You know, a little pedophile world, a little pedophile virtual world island where you just go in there and do little pedophilic things? Is that okay or is that not okay? Who decides? This is the type of questions that are going to get raised. Yeah,
well, it's real. Like, people might want to show away from that word, but 100%, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for what can happen in a virtual space where anything's possible. And the other thing is that who's going to govern any of this? You know, like, is it going to be a technocrat society where whoever product that you bought that's on their rules and their terms, and because we already have the issue that governments can't keep up with the rate of which we're selling, and they can't make these new laws and regulations because the technology is changing. They can't keep up. So it's sort of like you might go through periods, especially at the start, because that's the hard part, because it's all new and no one sort of knows what's going on yet and what people are trying. Like, how can I stop you from doing this? I didn't even know you were going to try that. So there's going to be a lot of shit.
There'll be a big learning curve at the start. But now, like I said, I was looking at ancient civilizations and all different civilizations, the rise and fall. And you said at the start about human civilization falling. What I saw, like I've been there, what I've heard from all of these podcasts is human nature is what brings every civilization down, no matter what level of advancement or lack of advancement that they were at. Let's say it's a desire to expand, like the Romans, and then spreading yourselves too thin, and expenditure of resources and whatnot. Same thing here. It's human nature once again, and I will finish on a positive note with what positives are available within this new world. But the desire for more seems to be the fallacy of human nature and human civilization for all of eternity, from as far back as we can have any record of anyway. It's like you get to the top, let's say there's the Egyptians, what brought them down? There are some civilizations where they still exist after those plagues and after those horrible scenarios. For the actual civilization to fall, it seems that human nature comes in at some point. Just like right now, the desire for more is gonna crash and burn. Everything has diminishing returns. A mate of mine tells me all the time, and it's like technology has risen quickly, much quicker than what the rest of our evolution has kept up with. With the industrial age and everything else going on. The tech age has just gone. I'm pointing a camera here, bang, just up and out of nowhere. And I think humanity will also follow on the downward curve of that bell curve. I'm making out with my hands here, because as we seek for more, it seems like we end up overshooting every single time.
It does seem that we keep making the same mistakes. And you can look at every rise and fall of an empire or a revolution. It seems to be the same principles, just different timeline. But it does. It seems that either we get too greedy or we get too desperate and we need to make a massive shift, or the urge for control is just, people rebel for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't silly. They know what they want and they will fight for it. So it's a hard, because it could go two ways. That could be the downfall which led us into this. If the outside world was so chaotic, people couldn't bear to live like that, this would be a perfect excuse to be like, you can be anything you want, anything you want here. You don't have to go through this torment and torture and be homeless and starve. There's endless amounts of anything here. That could be the turning point. That could actually make people want that.
And if you look now, this, I clearly say it falls outside of conspiracy. But if you look at the scenario we're in right now, you can't argue that whether by chance and fate, it's conducive to the direction we're moving in. And what does that mean? A lack of movement, a restriction of movement, physically anyway. Digitally, you can still go where you want. Now imagine the metaverse existed. That's a beautiful selling point. And then on top of that, this phasing out of physical currency and a move towards digital currency and cryptocurrency. That again highlights how the current climate is pushing towards a direction that supports what's going on here. Just in a terms, and you could just call it fate, but it does seem that that's what's happening here. So if maybe it's a lucky thing that's happened, and that's just how things are at the moment. But for whatever reason, they are both two opposite ends of a magnet, which are pulling together. They're helping each other exist, and it's pushing things in this direction a lot quicker. Every point about metaverse that we've chatted about is passed on.
And it's important as well to start that that conversation where people can start asking these questions, you know, and start raising these concerns. And I really hope that this becomes mainstream when like people with some influence are really talking about it, because there's so many different avenues you can go down where things we need to consider and think about. But I will say that the beauty of this, and I'm actually against it. I'm a pessimist towards this, but we'll get our say. We all get our chance to create it the way that we want. Anyone can develop a world or develop a business towards this, or have their say to how they want to use it, or certain restrictions around how long we use it. You know, just because it's available doesn't mean that you can't be, you know, a decent parent and control your kid. Like you get to choose how long they're in there for. You know, it's still on us.
Because that's the funny part. That's actually the scary part. To think that our children, for certain, there's no doubt in my mind on this at all, that before they hit their 30s, they're definitely logged in.
Yeah.
And most likely from the get-go, I'm talking kinder, schooling, this will be very hard to avoid because it will be integrated into the system, into society, if it gets there. Now, the one thing I'm not convinced on, only because I haven't seen anything that points otherwise, is whether it's going to come around that quick. But all I know is that technology has gone like that.
You know, I would
like
say
that.
I have to say it actually hasn't yet. They call it the hockey stick parabola, like, you know, the little curvy part of the hockey stick, and it's straight up. We actually haven't hit that part yet, because when AGI hasn't even happened yet, for all we know, right? Like the merge of AI has not happened. It's still centralized bubbles of AI. You know, Tesla has their AI, Google has theirs. We haven't merged it yet. It's not smarter than us yet. In a specific task, of course, yes, but it doesn't know everything that a human knows yet. So you would assume that we're actually still at the bottom of the hockey stick. If people think that this is crazy, they haven't seen nothing yet. It's unimaginable how crazy. And because even the other day, I was showing Romy this, the Meta keynote presentation, and you can't focus and sort of picture it until you see it, because you sort of think, oh yeah, holograms and teleporting, like bullshit. No, watch the video first and watch what it would look like. And
it's a laugh.
Put it on one time. Put it on once, be like, oh my God, it's actually real. And that's it. Your mind will run wild after that.
And bro, it's so hilarious that in terms of, look, what I don't know is far off is whether or not complete adoption is. And we talked earlier before the podcast about the adoption timeline for phone technology and how this might follow something similar. That I can't say, but I do, and I am leaning towards earlier adoption over 80%. I sound like fucking, what's his name, Ben Andrews. But but what I'm certain of is that the technology is right around the corner. So for sure, the adoption curve I'm talking about, when phones first come out, the people with the money have the best phones, and maybe middle class, lower class didn't have it. Then as technology improves and whatnot, the better phone comes out, that phone is now adopted. At a certain point, it's very hard for what was once the prime kit of the elite to not be accessible to your lower income person. When that point gets hit, you know, then it's clear that everyone is logged in and into this scenario. Now, I'm not sure where I was going with that.
Yeah, well, it's I know what you're saying though, because, and I think the same thing will happen. I think it'll come out, the first people that were going to do it anyway are going to jump straight in. I would recommend don't jump on the first, because it's a beta. The first one that comes out is a beta. It's probably not going to be that good anyway. Okay, so then it'll get initial rejection, and people are like, nah, it's shit, it's all hype. Sort of what we already have done with VR in the past. Like, we've just been like, nah, it's not that good, don't worry about it. And then I think it'll get to a point where they always say that the unicorn in the tech world is the one you didn't see coming. It's not like Facebook or Tesla, because they're already there. It's the one that just crept up, found a little opportunity.
Player One podcast
comes in and shows you how to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, everyone goes, holy shit, like that's pretty cool. You can actually do that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, more and more they're like, you know what, I might do it.
It's actually a common theme across everything. It's I'm thinking about fighting. It's like you look at these top gyms. At some point, the whole world knows enough mixed martial arts that you get these weapons coming out of places you never thought of.
Like Dagestan.
It's from what? They've just been out there plotting, bro. Now, what I will say about the Player One podcast is it's a bit of a full circle moment, because we were chatting about this shit early days. You know, even the fictional book that we read around Player One Theory, which is The Game Is Life. It depicts a world very similar to this. I would love to get that author on the podcast to see where he got his ideas from, because they are very, very in line with what's going on here. And his philosophy, his plot in the book is this world, this base reality, which we call Earth here, and then we've got the next reality, which we'll call, let's say, the Metaverse. And in the Metaverse, kids are here. This is where they go to school to learn. Why would you go elsewhere? To get all their life experience. It's also attached to that is income and whatnot. And based on how well they play this virtual reality game, they get sponsorships and work and whatnot. And you know, when they exit this system at 18 to the real world, that's their integration into the real world. Is that now they've got some money from this that allows them. It's just one concept, which is getting freakishly close to a possibility every day.
And it gives life and merits the idea that, well, if we're literally about to create a whole new simulated world, it's very possible that we are already in one.
What's his name? That guy that wrote the paper, Nick Bostrom.
Yeah.
He wrote a great paper on simulation theory, and he identified 3 outcomes which, in his theory, indicate virtual reality or simulation or support support the idea that we're in one. And I don't remember them entirely, but we'll clarify it. I believe one of them was when such a time comes that what we're simulating is that the simulations of today are almost indistinguishable from current reality. So when that time comes, then it's almost a certainty that we are in a virtual reality. And there are many reasons he gave for people going and creating a virtual reality, much of them which we covered now, funnily enough, in a very real sense. Education, also looking to see how things were in time. And you can time travel. Wonder how things were in 1980. Let's go check out 1980 in the Metaverse. And if that Metaverse is indistinguishable from current reality, and that is and that is existing in front of us, then you know for certain that there would have to be something, according to his theory, going on.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to look up the 3 things, but anyway, I can post that anyway. But yeah, it does give a lot of merit. And I almost think that, I was saying the other day that if this was a simulation, you would think, well, any game you make it so fantastic that you can do anything that you couldn't imagine doing, like the shooting fire and flying, and shape-shifting and teleporting, all the things that we can't do here. And you would think, well, why can't we do any of that right now? And I believe that we actually get so advanced through this that we go the opposite way and we went back. We want to see what life was like before we do all this. Like, what was it like being, so primitive like we are?
Let's propose a setting. Go on.
So I think, let's say that it's 100 years from now, and the Metaverse is absolutely adopted. Not only are we put on headsets, it's implanted in us, and we're all just laying asleep, comatose, just in a complete simulated dream where we live a complete lifetime. And this is it. We are the lifetime right now. We experience the whole thing, experience what 80 plus years of life is like. And it's fully immersive. We have dreams, and we're self-aware. We're all artificial intelligence. I can plan and float, and we have pets. We've created our own artificial and intelligent ecosystems around us. It's a full world, and we're all in it together. And I think that we're going through this transition. It's an interesting time we're in, because not only are we from the very far back, we're at the start. We lived, 25 years before the Metaverse was born. So we've got to experience life beforehand, and now it's an interesting time because we're at the cusp of the birth of the simulation. And it's sort of like, are we here to learn from it and to try and change it? And are we going to wake up and be like, that's it. That's how we actually get out of this. I don't want to be in this simulation anymore. Like, I want to experience real life. It's not you'll figure this out when you go on a simulation. You'll be like, it's good, but it's not the real thing. Yeah. And people will slowly forget that. You'll get so ingrained that you're like, oh, this is good. But they're like, yeah, but have you actually ever smelled fresh air or ever felt a tree or felt grass?
Why would I want to go into the ocean when I can go into the the most special Indian Ocean made out of sparkling water
Yeah.
in the virtual reality, and actually come out of it, feel every element of feeling wet, but not actually being anything close to it in reality.
But I'm saying that in a few generations, they won't know the difference.
Or
You know what I mean?
yeah, and they'll also undervalue the difference.
Yeah.
Like that would be their answer. Like, why would I go and why would I want to even know the difference when I don't need to know the difference? It's
True.
when reality in the virtual reality becomes more valuable to people than this reality, then that's a big problem. And that's with singularity of AI as well, which we're not even going to get into, but imagine AI achieves singularity, and we're living in a 90% of the population is in a virtual reality world. Now, what do you do about that? There's artificial intelligence involved in this technology that is clearly better at everything and more advanced at everything possible that you can think of, even human elements such as creativity, emotion, sad, everything down pat. That's another crazy one.
And they're better developers than us. They would develop the worlds better than we can.
That's the Matrix right there.
That is absolute Matrix. 100%.
Let's I've got two things to finish on. One is just the scenario that leave people with this little thought experiment. Just this scenario here, 3021, yeah, and the world is ridiculous, can't be put into words. But simulations and this technology is basic, it's right there, good to go. And you wonder, man, what about that time when humanity shifted towards this type of technology? When was that? Did they say? No, it happened around 2000 and this and that. Maybe I'll go live that whole lifetime around that generation. I just want to see the rise and fall of it. I want to see the inception. Or they thought, hey, this is my field of learning, history. I'm a historian. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick simulation, a quick lifetime, and just see what it was like from the perspective of a person at 28, growing up, blah, blah, did this. So that's one scenario. The second one is the opener to Nick Bostrom's article published in the Philosophical Quarterly 2003. And this is his, So this paper argues that at least one of the following propositions is true. 1, the human species is very likely to go extinct before reaching a post-human stage. That post-human stage is this metaverse. Any post-human civilization is extremely unlikely to run a significant number of civilizations. Any post-human civilization is extremely unlikely to run a significant number of simulations of their evolutionary history or variations thereof, the one I just mentioned. And third, we are almost certainly living in a computer simulation. Simple as. And he finishes with this: it follows that the belief that there is a significant chance that we will one day become post-humans who run ancestor simulations is false, unless we are currently living in a simulation. Now, maybe you're going to pause and rewind that one, go for your life, or maybe you should read through the whole article. It's 14 pages and it's pretty damn interesting. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think we'll finish on that. It was a good episode. Just touching back on the basics. I'd really encourage people to further look into this. We're obviously going to put more content about this topic as well. I don't see anything more important than this at the moment, and I think I'm going to be spending a fair bit of time, just everything that I can, every new update that comes out, just try and express it and show it, and just to realize that nobody knows everything about this. This has never happened before. It's completely new. So don't feel left out. Like, we actually haven't even started yet. If you think you're left behind now, you're not. I promise you, you're not. There's still so, and it seems like it's so complex, but once you sort of understand like the basic foundation, and I hope I can lay some things down today, you can let your mind and creativity run wild, because you can create this. It's not set in stone yet. There's so many things that people can actually create for themselves. So many more opportunities. Like, it blows my mind.
Don't forget, drink water, eat clean, follow your breath, hug your friends and loved ones,
and get outside.
Get outside. It's not even real anyway.
Mayo.